All right, I want to throw a quick setup on this front end. Just set the caster and camber. Just to get it close. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just want to roll it around the shop. So Heights calls out a camber of -1/4 and a caster of +5 to 7. So we'll get into that. So with camber, that's the amount of tilt in or out on the wheel, okay, on the hub. Right now, you can see I'm at roughly +1 1/4. I have to be at -1/4. So on this setup, it's very easy. You just turn these turnbuckles, and I'm going to be pulling them both in an equal amount. And as I pull that in, you can see the bubble moving on the positive side of the leg. So you do a little on the other side now. Took me a minute to remember how to do this. My dad always did it on the race cars. Took him forever. Maybe he was milking it, but this seems like a 10-minute job to me. Anyway, but back then we had to do it with shims, and you had a lower control arm that was adjustable as well, and that was all just a big pain. Okay, so now I'm starting to creep up on the negative side. Just a little bit more. Okay, so that's roughly -1/4. All right, fine. Now for caster, you have to take and turn the wheel out 20 degrees. Now, interestingly enough, this steering box is almost exactly 40 degrees lock to lock, so it makes setting this super easy. So what you do is you crank it all the way to 20 degrees out, reset the zero bubble here. Hold on. Come on, baby. You can buy these with magnetic bases. I like the screw-on one, especially when you're doing with aluminum hubs. You got to kind of have to do that. But anyway, all right, so that's the 0. Then you set your caster knob here to 0. Put the bubble right on the old mark. Right there. Then you turn it back the other way. Come back to the gauge, reset your 0, re-level it. Okay. Close enough. So right now we're at 6.5. Now, what caster is the angle between the top and bottom ball joints, like this. And you want a little bit of caster so that the more caster you have, the better the steering will straighten out. So like when you're driving down the road and you're turning and then you start going again, if you let go of the steering wheel, you'll notice that it starts to, it creeps back towards going straight. Caster is what straightens the wheel out. It tends to draw the tires back into a forward position rather than a turn position. So this is actually not bad. It's kind of right in the middle. 5 to 7 is what they're calling out. I'm at 6.5-ish, a little higher than that maybe. I could, now if I want to adjust caster, if I want to make that a little better, I would bring this one, if I want to go a little lower, I'm going to bring the front one in a little. And then we don't want to change the camber, so I'm going to bring the back one out the same amount. I think I just went the wrong way. But we'll see here in a second. Again, I put in the mock shocks to hold everything at the right ride height. just to get everything leveled out when I do this. Zero everything up again. And I'll go back the other way now. Put it on the other lock. Oh yeah, totally went the wrong way. Dope. All right, let's fix that. Okay. One more time. And again, this is just to roll it around in the shop. I just want to make sure I can get to the right figures, make sure that I have enough adjustment comfortably to do it. Okay, there's your 0. There's your 0. Back to the other lock. Flatten her out again. And there you go. I'm sitting just a hair over 5. Let's just make sure I didn't mess up my camber. Not that it really matters. It's about straight on there. Yep, I'm still at about a 1/4. So yeah, that's basically it. This turnbuckle setup is very nice. I really like this. You know, it used to be in the old days you'd do that all with shims. Every time you'd break it down, put new shims in it, start again. It took a while. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put the lock nuts on finger tight, get them down there so this doesn't move around on me. I'll take some initial measurements when I take this all back apart, just so I can get it close when I start reassembly. But that's basically it. That's caster and camber. There's no mystery to it. I like the geometry at ride height, everything sitting. That top A-frame is almost perfectly level. That's really nice. So yeah, that's basically it. Next step, I'm gonna throw the shocks in, the actual shocks and the front sway bar, get that all rigged up, mocked up, make sure everything fits properly. I have no doubt that it will, but it's always good to get it there. Then I'm gonna set this thing on the ground. And yeah, it's exciting. Okay, I'll bring you back when I have the shocks in and everything set up. She's a roller. So I got the sway bar in, sway bar links. I didn't press all this together yet because I've got to take it apart again anyway, so I just kind of semi-mushed it in there. Yeah, I think it's ready to sit down on the floor, finally. But yeah, everything's done up, shocks are in, set to my best guess at ride height right now. Won't know until we get the motor in it, but anyway, let's take a moment and put it on the floor and see what we got. It looks like under its own weight, I guess. Yeah. She's a roller, or a roller skater. I got skates on it just so I can move it around. When I lower the body onto it, this will allow me to make really super small adjustments, get everything where I want it to be. I was a little crooked back there. Yeah, so she's off the rotisserie. One last thing to trip over in here. So I think next I'm gonna try to set the motor and tranny in there. See how that looks. Obviously the chassis is uphill to the front right now. There's no weight on the front at all. So no idea what what this thing's going to do for ride height and all that. It won't know that until I get it back up under the chassis. But man, that's a milestone right there. Feeling pretty good about that. Yeah, it looks good. Looks real good. Okay, so next I will unbury the motor, get the crane up here, lift that, put it in, throw the cross member in, although I know I'm going to have to rework that, but at least it'll hold it up until I can figure out what's what. So yeah, let's keep digging. Bam, there it is. Bolted in. Or just kind of sitting there, really. I didn't have the right bolt for the motor mount, but right now I have that pretty much as far forward as the motor mounts will allow. My first try setting it on the chassis, so I'm going to push that to next weekend just because this is a excellent psychological breaking point right here. I feel great. This looks awesome. Everything seems to clear. My steering column is going to be fine. Everything is looking great. I don't have much weight on the front yet, but it didn't squat it much. Let's just say that. Feeling good about that. You know, I think once the body's on, we'll start to see what the rake's going to look like and all of that. But so far, everything looks to be right there. So we'll just going to keep plugging away at it. Yeah, that's a big milestone. Motor is on the frame. And that took what? 3 weekends? So not too bad. Not too bad at all. Next step, you know, after I fit the body up, figure out what I got to do to the tunnel. Great. I could probably project some of that with measurements right now just to see how bad I am. But once I get that figured out, I may have to alter the tunnel a little bit. Then it's strip it all back down and send it off for powder coat, I guess, or paint, depending on what I do. But yeah, that looks really nice. I'm very, very happy with this. This is going to be quite a hot rod. So certainly next level, right? If you don't know, went with the old Pontiac blue in homage for the Pontiac. That motor was in the Pontiac G9s or G8s, 8 or 9. I can't remember what the number was, but that oil pan is great. All kinds of clearance on the oil pan. I probably could have went with the original hot rod oil pan instead of the F-body one. This is the F-body one. You can see down through there, I've got almost 3 inches, 4 inches between the cross member and the front of the oil pan. So that's great. Again, don't have any clue as to what I'm into for height on that, on the transmission right there yet, but I will. We'll get there, and once I confirm the body fits and everything looks nice, I can actually measure for the drive shaft and get that on order. So yeah, good breaking point. Nice sunny day out. Got a mountain of cardboard going over there as usual, but I'll come up and do some cleaning some weeknight here, get it all ready to go again so I can devastate the place next weekend once again. But feels good to be taking stuff out and putting, like these gunny wheels have been kicking around for months now, like 5 months. These, I was looking for just something I could roll the car around in the shop. These are very expensive. They're like $250 a piece, $260. I kept looking just to see if I could find some used ones. And ultimately, it was funny. I found them on Walmart's website. They just popped up on Walmart's website one day in clearance for $100 a piece. So I'm like, buy them. And they're universal pattern and everything. And so they work pretty nice. And they've got these ridges so that, it won't take off on you. It'll roll, but you got to push it over the bumps. But like I said, I put it on skates just so I can manipulate and maneuver and get that body down on this thing. Boy, that's going to be something. Hopefully everything goes well. I think I'm going to take the top plate off the Tremec and just tape that up to set this down, and then just so I'm not trying to poke the shifting rod up through the hole, through the tunnel. But it should work pretty good. Like I said, I did buy a tunnel extension that I can put on there if needed. Pretty sure it'll be needed. I know. But we'll see. It's going to be close. I still haven't measured the... I'm just about where I've got to be on pinion angle or motor angle right now, so I don't see a lot of choice here, because if I bring the tail shaft up on that transmission anymore, my pulley is going to be too close to the sway bar. So, some little things got to still be manipulated, but overall, very pleased. So, just keep digging. Go down and take the rest of the afternoon off, then figure out what I've got to do for next week. But that's a big milestone right there. Just having that motor sitting on there is a good feeling. It clears the rack and pinion beautifully. No problems there. Yeah, all real good. Very well. It's going to be fun. You're going to have to lay right on the ground to hook this back up to the body, but, it's not going to be a huge deal. But we'll get there.